had a viewer who was asking what wires were absolutely needed on their remote start, and they were actually using the same FLCAN from Flashlogic and the 4105 Avital remote start. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go through and show what wires are necessary for 2008 Kia Sedona. And then I'd also like to open this up if anybody has any questions out there that would use this same combination, the Flashlogic FLCAN and the Avital 4105L. I'd be more than happy to make a video doing the same thing, just showing which wires you'll actually need. And I'll put a link to the video that kind of sparked this conversation, where I show on a 2007 Ford Edge which wires I'm going to be using, and basically simplify the installation where you're not overwhelmed by the number of wires that are actually in the box. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. I'm going to put on the screen, you can actually maybe see here on the computer that I've got the wiring information I need in order to make my selections of the wires that I need. So I'm going to kind of zoom in on what I'm actually doing. I'm also going to put this screenshot on this video so you can see where I'm getting my information from. So one of the first things I'm going to explain is this is the door lock wiring harness. It's the green and blue wire 2-pin harness. We're not going to need that because all of this is, the lock and unlock is taken care of through the FLCAN. So I'm going to set that to the side. And this is the antenna harness, and it's just going to be used for the windshield mount antenna. So I'll leave that to the side. Again, this is a hood pin switch. If for some reason your bypass does not pick up the hood status output, you can add this to it as an added safety, so that when the hood's up, the car won't attempt to start with the remote start. It's a safety feature. So now this is your primary harness, and it looks like we don't need ignition 2, but other than that we'll need your power, ignition, accessory is the orange, purple start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all the wires that we're actually going to need, and I'll put them in one wire tie. Okay, so now we're going to come over to this secondary harness, and the only thing required is going to be your parking lights, your ground, and the rest of these wires are additional wires that I typically don't hook up. So out of all of these, I'm only going to use these two. And then this bypass is supposed to do the tack, which is the purple and white wire, so I'm not going to include that. This is a neutral safety, which it can be just hooked straight to ground, especially on an automatic vehicle. And then the brown is the brake switch wire, which you also need. So as for the remote start, these are the only wires that you need. I'll count them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 wires total. And then you have all these other ones that are going to get cut off and thrown in the trash. You will want to make sure that as you're cleaning this up with electrical tape, hopefully, or Tessa Tape, which I'll put a link in the description below, just tie it up to the rest of these wires, wrap them, and you'll get rid of all of these. So now we're going to switch over to the module, the bypass module. And again, I'm going to start by plugging everything in, all the harnesses, and we will be doing data to data, so we won't need to hook up the power cable. And just so you know, the power cable is this that has the black, red, and blue and white, or the data cables, which are not important for this part of it. So as we refer back to the wiring that is included with the Flashlogic information, you can see that each of the harnesses are used. We are not going to be, most likely, the viewer is not going to be using the sliding door option, which will eliminate the black harness. So I'm going to set to the side, but I will go ahead and cover the wires that are on the diagram, just in case they are actually going to be using them. I'm not sure that there's enough outputs on this remote start to actually use the sliding door. You might be able to choose one. So I'm just going to start at the bottom of the diagram, and we'll be working from the side up. So the gray yellow is not used. Gray red is used. Green yellow is not used. Green red is used. None of the rest are used. Pink on the next connector is used. And then we go all the way to brown and yellow. And brown and red, which is on the other end of the connector. And then on the next connector, only one is going to be used. That's going to be the trunk status output. And then on the last connector, the last two wires are used. So let me separate these so you can see what that looks like. And I do apologize for the lighting, it's terrible. Okay, so out of all of the wires that were on the bypass module, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when you're done, you should have gray red, green red, pink, brown yellow, brown red, yellow red, white red, and white black on the bypass module. And then on the remote start, you should have, on the heavy gauge harness, you should have 2 reds, which are constant, a pink, which is ignition 1, and there is only one ignition on this vehicle. Accessory is orange, starter is purple, white is going to be your parking lights, and that is polarity selectable with this jumper. You're going to have black, which is ground, white black, which I put with ground, and then you're going to have the brown on the small harness, and that's your brake shutdown switch. And those are the wires that you need. And those are the wires that you need on your 2008 through 2014 Kia Sedona. Again, if you've watched to the end, you probably own a 2008 Kia, or 2008 through 2011 or 2014. But if you know of somebody that needs a remote start, they're going to do it themselves, and they want this information, and they're using this combination, I'd be more than happy to go through the wiring just like this. And if you are going to be using the sliders, the sliding doors, you will use the purple and black wire and the purple yellow wire. Your system would need 2 additional outputs to control the sliding doors on this vehicle. So all in all, there you go. I hope this was helpful, and let me know if there's anything else that you would like to know on this.